What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Possessed Running. I am Will Rucker, and I wanted to give some of my thoughts, takeaways on Zone 2 running. I'm going to start with Dr. Jack Daniels, who was a legendary exercise physiologist, two-time Olympic medalist in the modern pentathlon, world-renowned running coach, named the world's best coach by Runner's World magazine. He coached numerous elite Olympians and pioneered the scientific VDOT training system. He won a team silver medal in 1956 at the Summer Olympics, team bronze medal in 1960 Summer Olympics in Rome, earned a PhD in exercise physiology, and studied under prominent sports scientist Ostrand. Am I saying that right? Ostrand? I don't know. Anyway, we're going to start with Jack Daniels, and I have a couple other examples that are really helpful. One of them is actually like a dumbed down explanation of Zone 2 as if you're explaining it to a 5-year-old. And I don't know about you, but that's honestly the best way that I usually learn. Like, I'm a Christian, and I have been studying the Bible my entire life, and the thing that is best actually helped me understand the Bible is the children's storybook Bible. It's just the way my brain works. You can call me dumb, I don't care. Like, call me a 5-year-old, but that is usually the way that I best understand things, is if you strip it down to its absolute basics. Anyways, I do actually feel like Jack Daniels explains, like, I feel like maybe a 5-year-old wouldn't understand it, but my 10-year-old daughter maybe would. Maybe even my 8-year-old. So my 12-year-old would definitely understand it.
So there are really only 4 kinds of training that you can do. There's easy running, which should be conversational. When you go for an easy run, you ought to be able to carry on a conversation with a friend without having to worry about it too much. Normal breathing, everything's fine. You're only working at easy, you're usually working at about a 60% effort. If you're measuring heart rate, you're about 65% of your maximum heart rate. It's pretty comfortable. Or if you're talking about maximum oxygen consumption, it's about 60% of your VO2 max. So that's easy. What does easy running do for you? Well, one thing is it strengthens your heart muscle tremendously, because as you run harder, your heart rate goes up like that. And your stroke volume, the amount of blood you pump with one beat, in other words, what's the force of contraction of your heart, it also goes up as you run faster, but it plateaus when you're only at about 60% of your maximum heart rate. So your heart's beating as hard as it's ever going to beat without even running fast. So it's going to benefit tremendously by not working real hard, by you not stressing. I mean, you don't, if you're a normal, healthy person, you don't feel your heart beating. It's beating 140, 150, 160 times. You don't even know that. I mean, you can feel it, but you're not hurting because of it. It's just telling you you're working hard. It's not saying it doesn't hurt harder as you work harder. And your stroke volume maxes out when you're only at about 60% of your max heart rate. So if this speed of running is the best, the easiest speed I can run at that maximizes the stroke of my heart, I'm benefiting big time without running hard. And you also have little muscle fibers down there that do all the running, and inside those muscle fibers you got the little mitochondria, and the blood supply where the oxygen comes off your hemoglobin and goes into the mitochondria to turn fuel into energy. These mitochondria increase in number. And
that is why Hans Troyer always says the mitochondria are dense.
Increase in size. And they even move closer to the pool into energy. Supply where
this is like big. Like, I love this.
Mitochondria, and the blood supply where the oxygen comes off your hemoglobin and goes into the mitochondria to turn fuel into energy. these mitochondria increase in number, and they increase in size. And they even move closer to the periphery of the cell, so they're closer to their oxygen supply. All those things happen as a function of time spent running, not speed. When you're out there jogging along at 60% effort on an easy run, these things are doing what they want to do. So you're getting big time peripheral changes, and you're getting big time heart muscle changes when you run easily. So there's a definite benefit of running easily, because if you run easy, you're liable to keep it up longer, right? And if these things happen as a function of time, then easy is going to be better than hard. So that's one kind of training you have to do, is easy.
I mean, it's just wild. Like I have watched this video at least a dozen times, and I feel like each time I watch it, it's as if I've watched it for the first time, or it's as if I'm watching it for the first time. It's pretty wild, like that the mitochondria grow in number, and also that your heart gets bigger. Like, that's a whole other thing. Does running more make your heart bigger? Running a lot can make your heart slightly bigger and stronger, a safe condition often called athlete's heart. The main pumping room gets wider so it can hold more blood, your larger chambers. Thicker walls, the muscle walls stretch and grow a bit stronger to push that blood out. Your heart's more efficient, which, you know, we could also just call this VO2 max. I mean, if you look at like Kilian Jornet, everyone says his name differently. I say Jornet because it sounds cool. I feel like I'm speaking like a different language. But you could, I mean, he is said to have like a higher VO2 max than most elite runners. And like, I think it's like 95 or something wild. You could just imagine his heart being bigger than yours. Like, I would just go ahead and assume that. His heart's big. If you put his huge muscle, his heart, on a table and mine next to it, his is bigger than mine. I guarantee you. Yeah, just... It's so wild. And it's hard to think about, like, when you're doing zone 2 running, it often feels boring, right? Especially if you're not with anybody. Like, because you watch a lot of these zone 2 videos, they're always talking about conversational pace. Well, how do you know your pace is conversational if you're not running with anybody you could talk to, that you could conversate with? One thing I've done, you know, if it's not 5 a.m., if it's 3 p.m., I call my mom. My mom doesn't run, but like, she'll talk, and I can put my little Shocks headphones on and link it to my phone and put my phone in my compression shorts so it doesn't bounce around, and I talk to my mom. And that is one great way of zoning in on your pace, being in zone 2. And it also, I feel like, and someone can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, I swear it has been beneficial for getting my heart rate to go down just simply by talking. It's not that it makes me think about what pace to go so that I can talk. Talking on the phone while running, it makes you think about controlling your breath, because I don't want to be breathing heavily while I'm talking to my mom. So I'm thinking really hard about my breath. And I think thinking hard about it helps me to control my breath. Anyway, I'm going to move on to, this is what I was talking about with Zone 2 explained to a 5-year-old why you have to run slow to run fast, which right off the bat, I just love how that's said. And this is Running Mandy, who is on Team USA. She's a trail runner. Everyone has heard run slow to run fast, but why? Muscles have tiny little engines inside them. She's got a little emoji of a fire truck. More engines equals go faster. Going hard all the time just uses the engines you already have. Going easy for a long time builds more engines, more fire trucks. Athletes have 2 gas tanks. Small one, sugar, runs out fast, lightning bolt. Big one, fat, which she's got like a little emoji of a like a big garbage like metal bin where you'd put like fat in. Basically infinite, but body is lazy. Your gas tank, so your 2 gas tanks, sugar and fat. Fat one, basically infinite, but body is lazy. Yawning, sleeping emoji. It won't use it unless you make it practice. It's not going to use fat unless you make it practice it. You make it practice by going slow. Long, easy miles make heart bigger. Bigger heart pumps more blood. More blood equals more oxygen. Faster you. Rocket emoji. There is speed too hard to help. You feel okay tomorrow, and too easy to make you feel fast in future. Let me say that again. There is speed too hard to help you feel okay tomorrow, and too easy to make you fast in the future. Most runners live here. It's a trap. Trap is bad. So how train? Most runs embarrassingly easy. Turtle emoji. Some runs very hard. Fire emoji. Make very fast runner in future. Yeah. So, anyway, most runs embarrassingly easy, some runs very hard. And this is what Jack Daniels was talking about, right? Like, you want to train your body to get used to putting out this effort at an easy, it's easy. It's like you're not overworking your heart. And that way, when the hard workouts come, you're able to do it, the hard workout. I mean, if you did even zone 3 the day before a hard workout, you're not going to do that hard workout as successfully as you would if you'd done zone 2 the day before. Anyway, that's... Oh, you know what? I'm going to share a little bit from another podcast I really love called the Strength Running Podcast with Jason Fitzgerald. He has an episode on Zone 2 running best practices with Alyssa Olenick. That's pretty good. I'm going to play a little bit of it.
For being here. And maybe we can start with just a quick definition of like, what are we talking about when we say zone 2 running?
Yeah, so Zone 2 has obviously gotten really popular over the last few years. And I think for anyone here listening, what you have heard referred to as Zone 2 has been referred to in multiple different ways. So let's like actually understand what it means when we are talking about Zone 2, because this classification actually matters to understand like why we do it or where it falls in the spectrum of intensity when it comes to running training, and not just like Zone 2 good fat burning, which is like the caveman iteration of the internet. So when we think about zones, the easiest thing to think about is that like they are actually just indirect references of what's happening physiologically that you would test if you were in an exercise lab. So you don't need to go do a VO2 max test or a lactate test in a lab with a metabolic cart and lactate meters and all that stuff. I've done plenty of those. And I can tell you right now, I don't even use that data for myself. So you don't need this like gold star amazing data. But essentially what we're doing is when we're classifying our own zones, we're indirectly trying to find these places that reflect different underlying physiology. And so you have in a classic 5-zone model, which is what most people are referring to, Zone 1 and Zone 2 fall below something known as your first lactate threshold or your first vanillatory threshold. And that's essentially the point of when your body starts to accumulate lactate a little bit more quickly than it can clear it, but it's still clearing it out mostly. It's not overloading the system. It's not so much that it can't still, essentially do all the little physiological things it does to metabolize it or send it to other tissue, all those other things. But it's picking up a little bit. And you'll hear a lot of people say like greater than 2 millimoles per liter, which if you don't know anything about lactate, isn't super high. It's just physiologically a little bit more stressful after that point. So zone 2 and zone 1 are basically anything that's below that. Zone 3 is kind of that sweet spot in between when lactate's accumulating a little bit more, but not so much that it's overloading our system or super rapidly that we can't clear it. And then once you get to your threshold pace or your threshold intensity, kind of that crossover zone 3, zone 4-ish, which you kind of sustain for an hour, give or take, that's kind of going to be more of your threshold effort. Beyond that, you'll probably start to see your lactate threshold, which a lot of runners have heard about. That's when lactate starts to accumulate more rapidly. You're breathing a lot more rapidly, and you have these cutoff zones if I was to take you to a lab and measure that. Now, in the lay world, zones are referred to based off heart rate. They're referred to based off effort. They're referred to based off pace. And there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, but essentially we're just trying to indirectly train at a level that is physiologically not super stressful. That's all that means, is we want to train at an intensity where we get an aerobic benefit, but it's not metabolically stressful or having like this high metabolic cost and fatigue like zone 3, 4, or 5 do. Now, the reason we use heart rates for that, which is why a lot of people are getting heart rates with that, is because if you were to do a VO2 max test in a lab or a lactate threshold test, you could identify a heart rate to those thresholds or those different breaking points, because heart rate kind of tracks pretty linearly in a nice, pretty pattern when it comes to like classic endurance exercise. All exercise, it's not so perfect. So you can kind of say, hey, that's where this cutoff is. And this is where, for those listening, you're like, okay, can you just give me a perfect cutoff? But you listening has like Jason has a different zone 2 than I have a zone 2. My beginner runners have a zone 2, elite athletes. It is based off of your underlying physiology and your fitness status. So that's probably my most succinct way of explaining it. TLDR, it's a indirect reference range of what's happening physiologically. So you are exercising at an intensity that is not metabolically more costly than necessary to get aerobic benefit.
I love that, Alyssa. Thank you. And I think the two big things I take away from that is number one, zones are an indirect way of describing something that's happening inside your body physiologically. So it's sort of not the end all be all way to train because it's indirect. And I also like how you really described so many different ways of talking about zones. Is there, I know it's all really based on lactate. Now, most of us are not running around pricking our fingers, getting lactate measurements. So what is the best way of determining your zones? Is it through that indirect heart rate method, or do you think it's a good idea?
Anyway, yeah, I think that it's important to acknowledge that growing your zone 2 fitness doesn't mean you just run in zone 2. Like when you run in zone 1, 3, 4, 5, they're all helping each other. Running in zone 2 helps running in zone 5. Running in zone 5 helps running in zone 2. A lot of these muscle groups, it's not like when you're working on your fast twitch muscles, you're only working those muscles and those muscles only. Like your body, it's all still the same body. And I think I like to think about it that way. Like, they also each inform each other and how you should be thinking about the other. Anyway, this is starting to get maybe too in the weeds, but like, I think, yeah, I'm going to stop it there, but I'll probably make more videos down the road on zone 2. But this podcast is really interesting. It goes pretty over my head, and that's where I think this running Mandy thing is like the best, and the Jack Daniels video they're so like dumbed down, and you know that like Jack Daniels could explain zone 2 in the same way that this Alyssa Olenick person is, but like he's got an audience in front of him and he's like, y'all will understand this and you'll benefit from it, from me explaining it this way. How do we make a very fast runner in future? Me explaining zone 2 well to you. Yeah, man, the mitochondria are dense.